Hi, I had someone request that I make a tutorial for a matchbox, and so I thought I would do it not using dies, and that way you can make your own matchbox for your own little goodie holders or your swap gifts, or maybe a random act of kindness. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut two pieces of paper. The first paper that you're going to cut is going to be 8 inches long and 3.5 inches wide. The second piece of paper that you're going to cut is going to be 6.5 inches by 7.5 inches. And we'll start with this one. So after you've cut your paper down, this is very simple. First thing you're going to do is you're going to score it 1 inch, 2 inches, turn your paper a quarter turn. Oops, sorry, my paper slipped. 1 inch, 2 inches. Give your paper a quarter turn. 1 inch, 2 inch, and then your last edge here, exactly the same thing. Turn it and then score it at 1 and 2 inches. The next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of some of our corner squares. And so I'm just going to mark them with a pencil just to make it easier for you to see. And anywhere that there is a pencil line, oops, except there, is what we're going to cut. Oh, I'm sorry, I just hit the tripod thingy. And I'm going to do this to this side as well. I think I do want to turn on a little bit of light though, so maybe you get a little better view of everything. Well, that's not so hot either. Okay, so we're going to take this square away. We're going to take that square away. We're going to take this square away, and we're going to cut in all the way here. Same here as we're taking this square away, and that square away. Maybe I should have made those easier to see. Okay, and then we're going to turn our paper over, and by over I just mean, you know, this is now the bottom. And we're going to cut out this square, this square, this square. Your lines will be nicer than mine. You don't have to draw lines. You can just cut right on the folds. And I'm just going to cut on that line. A little trick for when you get ready to cut. Sometimes it is much easier if you go ahead and you score first. I'm looking for my score tool. I had everything ready except my score tool. So I'm just going to fold it up. I'm going to use my clothespin. And I'm just going to score. I use all these high-tech tools, you know, clothespins, bobby pins. There we go. What this is going to do is, if you're not marking everything, it's just going to enable you to see the lines that you want to cut a little bit better. My scoreboard has lost its leveling pegs, and so that's why it's moving back and forth. I apologize for that. Don't get seasick. Okay, so I've got this done, and I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm just going to cut out those pieces I told you, and I'm cutting right along my score line. And then if you recall, I said we cut everywhere I put a line, so I'm just going to cut down here. And what that does is it just gives me my glue tab. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut these off. And cut my glue tab. I'm always so afraid that people are going to be bored watching me cut and glue and everything. I'm very sorry. If you don't want your tabs being on the short sides of the box, you can certainly feel free to adjust them so that you're putting your tab on the long side of the box. It's just all personal preference. It really doesn't matter. Another thing you can do to make sure that everything tucks in just a little bit nicer. Oh, you know what I did? I put my I put my tabs on the long side here, and I guess I'm just gonna be consistent, keep it on the short side here. Anyway, so see, it doesn't matter where the tabs go. Okay, another thing that's going to make this just a little bit easier to fold is, I want to make sure that I've got everything straight. Okay, I'm just going to cut in a tiny sliver this way, and a tiny sliver this way, and hopefully that's going to allow everything to fold down without catching on anything. Just makes it a little bit easier. I am using a fairly good weight of cardstock. It's not super heavy. It's not 110 pound. It's one of those 12 by 12 sheets that you can buy at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Okay, so I've got that done, and if you want to make it even easier, you can just cut a tiny sliver from each of your long sides and short sides. And I'm only cutting down to my first fold line. All right, the reason that it looks like this is because we're going to have a box that's going to have very strong sides. We're going to fold these over. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our glue, our wet glue, and I am notorious at not taking care of my glue, so my glue has dried inside, and I may have to get another bottle just so it won't be so, oops, oh, I broke that tool. Here we go. Oh, for goodness sake. Nope, there we don't go. Okay, we are going to use this bottle, and I will fix that other one later. Okay, so I'm just gluing my edge like that, folding it in, and I want to make sure that I square up my edges, because that's really the key to having a good looking matchbox. And I'm just holding it in. If you're comfortable with rubbing it in with your fingers, you can kind of rub that glue in with your fingers. It gets it in the fibers of the paper better. Or you can take a bone folder or anything else you have. Like I said, I always use such high-tech tools here. I just use broken everything. All right, and then I'm going to do that to this side. I heard Maymay say that when you use glue on camera, it always adds 10 pounds to the glue. So it always makes it look like you're using quite a bit of glue, but I'm not. Okay, I'm squishing my glue in and holding it. I'm going to come over to this flap. And I'm just going to throw glue on this flap too, since I'm right here. Why not, right? Squaring up my edges. Giving it a little press and holding it. Squaring up my other edges. Giving it a little press and holding it for a second. Basically just long enough for the glue to grab. Then I'm going to take my long edges, my flappy doos here, and I'm going to put some glue on. Now, if you're worried about your flaps not having enough room to fold, they will, but you can just always take your scissors and cut off the tiniest little sliver. And then when you fold it down, everything will fit perfectly. But it should fit perfectly anyway. Okay. Folded it. I'm pressing my glue into place to get it into the fibers. If I had a bone folder, I would have run it along there, but I didn't, so I just used my thumbnail. I'm going to do my next long side. I'm taking my sliver off just because I told you you could do it. Normally I don't. I'm going to fold it in. Squish my glue around. And now I'm down to my end flaps. Do the same thing. I can just cut off a sliver if I want. Your slivers don't have to be perfect. No one will see them. You're the only one that will ever know. Cut off my sliver of my last flap. And when I say sliver, I mean it's a sliver. It's just the tiniest little bit. Like maybe the width of 2 or 3 hairs. Okay. I have folded in my last flap. Sorry. And there we have the tray portion of our little matchbox. Let me clean this mess up, and then we'll go on to the finishing touches. So now you're going to take your other piece of paper, the one that was 8 by 3.5, lay it in your scoreboard so that the 8-inch side is going up. You're going to score at 1. You're going to score at, let me get my measurements here, because I want to tell you correctly and not incorrectly. Oops. 3 5/8, 4 5/8, and then you're going to score at 7 1/4. You want to score all your lines, not score them, I'm sorry, fold them. Trying to keep everything as straight as possible. Now you see you have one line, oh for goodness sake, one section that's just a wee bitty bit shorter than the opposite side. That's because this is going to fold underneath here. We're going to glue this underneath like that. So I am going to take my box because I want to make sure everything fits. lay it in there. I'm going to put my short side against the side of my box, fold my box over, give it a test. I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to put my glue. When we cut the band, we only made it 1/8 of an inch larger than the bottom of our drawer. Otherwise, it goes in, but it's just really too tight. It doesn't feel good. Fold that down, and there we go. Bingo. See how nicely that went together? Okay, now, just because we can, we're going to gussy it up a little bit, because everyone likes a nice swap. So we're going to cut panels. We're going to cut 2 of 3/4 by 2 1/4 inches. Those panels are just going to go right here on the drawers. And it's just going to leave a little decorative edge there. Gluing that. I'm just going to eyeball it to the best of my ability. I do have astigmatism, so sometimes things are a little bit wonky when I do them. Okay, we've got that edge done. Then I'm going to put one on this end. If you want to, you can put it on the sides of your drawers as well, but they're not going to show, so unless you open the drawer, and even then, I mean, who cares, you know? But if you would like to, oops, you're more than welcome to. I think I used one that was the wrong size here. Yep, I did. Okay, so I'm going to regroup. Use the one that was cut to the correct size. Remember, this is 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. Glue that in place. I'm going to take my top panel that I cut, 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. Ooh, that's awful pretty too, but I think it's too much pink, so I'm going with the green. Okie dokie, give it a press. Take my bottom piece. Whoops. This is my bottom piece. I think I need to get a new cutter too. So I don't think things are quite cutting correctly here. They're not. Okay. My equipment is old. My cutting blades are terrible. Everything's falling apart because I've been doing this for so many years. Okay, here we go. 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. Glue that in place. And I'm just going to give it a press inside there. That's not it. Let me try my little pieces. Nope. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm going to cut 2 of these down to 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I have cut my piece, or my pieces, and I have glued everything on my sides. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the pole. See, and I'm using these little knobs, and I got these off of AliExpress. They weren't very expensive. I'm not sure if they still sell them, but I got tons of them. The reason I like these little knobs is they have a screw-on portion for the knob. See, here's a little screw. It's got a little back, so it won't pull through the paper. And then there's my knob. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper punch, and this is a microscopic tiny paper punch. It makes a little tiny hole. I'm just going to eyeball it kind of right in the middle, I hope, and punch. If you had I think an 1/8 of an inch paper punch would probably do perfectly. Okay, so I have made my little hole, and now I need to widen the hole. So I'm just going to look around for stuff I have that I can stick through it and widen it. So I'm just twisting my, whatever this is, my scoring tool through it. You might have a pokey tool that would work. So I got that through it, and it still needs to be wider. So now I'm going to just take this tool, which is actually my knitting tool, and put it through. And now I'm going to test it by taking the screw, the back side of the screw, or the screw side of the screw, and seeing if I can put it through, and I can't, so I need to make it a little bit wider. So I'm going to use this. I really should buy a hole punch that's a 1/16 of an inch. I mean, excuse me, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so I've made it wider, and I didn't quite make it wide enough. So I'm going to make it just a wee bit wider. And now it should fit with no problem, which it does. I'm going to take my little knob, and I'm just going to screw my little knob on. And this will butt right up to the paper. I don't need to glue it or anything. And if I want it real tight, I can just take a Phillips head screwdriver, as you can see, and stick it down there and tighten it up. So this is the box that I made when my filming got all messed up. See, I have some bling hidden in it. And this is the box that I've just completed with you right now. I'll just put my drawer in there. And this is ready to decorate. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry that the first one got kind of messed up with the filming. But thank you for your patience. Bye.